I grew up with films, and I think one of the things I love about film is that it's just like a slice of life, and it's like you're just someone observing someone else's story, and you can't do anything about it. You're just watching it unfold.
I've been on a journey traveling the world, exploring new food, new cultures, and people, listening to their stories along the way, and experiencing my own. Welcome to The Journey. So in this episode of the Journey podcast, I sat down at Forsyth Park in Savannah, Georgia with Davis Pennell. He's a film student at the Savannah College of Art and Design. And we chatted about film, life, favorite movies, self-esteem, social media, and just how two different generations can see eye to eye. Yes, it is a conversation between two completely different generations. Myself, Gen X, and him, Gen Z. Check it out.
I think they closed the park, but I don't know. I've ridden around here at 1 a.m, and it's, perfectly fine.
Yeah. But I mean, in this park, it's still within, is it 2 or 3 miles that you could like drink?
So from downtown, it's about, I'd say like a mile and a half.
Oh, okay.
A little bit less than definitely less than 2 miles. I don't think it's that long. But downtown is an open cup. This is an open cup. And Savannah is an open.
That's what I was thinking, because a lot of people probably don't realize that have never been to Savannah.
Yeah.
When they come here, it's kind of like...
It is kind of fun, especially downtown. It is quite a drinking town. Everyone will have a cup in their hands of different mixed alcohols.
Right.
It's fun.
So it's like, wait a minute, their first time here, they're kind of like, you can drink on the park?
Yeah.
Wait, you left the bar with that? It's like, yeah, I could go in there, get a drink, I can go to the park, I can sit there and drink and people watch, and
it's great.
Which obviously, like right here, there's plenty of people to kind of watch.
Yeah.
And this space is so big that it's I know you're from Jersey.
Yes.
Central Park. Have you been in Central Park in New York City?
I have been to Central Park. I've only been a few times, but I think one of the weird things about Central Park is that it is fucking huge.
Yeah.
It is a giant. No, I just want to make sure that's working.
Oh yeah, it's good. Oh yeah, it's working definitely.
It's ginormous, and I think one of the great things about that is that there's so much to explore. But I think one of the things I love about a small park like Forsyth is that there's just it's very familiar. I know every part of it. It's very also there's a huge loop around, walkabout, and there's multiple branching paths on the inside. If you go in further, it's really pretty when you get an overall aerial view, and there's also a little garden.
Yeah.
There are some really, really pretty
spots.
Isn't
the garden it's right there, right?
Yeah, it's like a hedge garden.
Yep.
It's really nice. I do love Central Park though. Central Park has some. I don't know. New York on itself is just special because of the people.
Yeah, I've been to New York, but I've never I never went to Central Park. I was in Manhattan by the World Trade Center and stuff like that. Still
great. I mean, everywhere in New York City is always
when you're
bustling.
In Central Park though, is it literally you're not in the city? Is it that big?
It depends where you are now, because you'll see buildings. If you're not covered in trees, you are surrounded by buildings.
Yeah.
And you're also next to, I forget what it's called. I think it's Billionaires Row.
Oh yeah.
That giant 160. I don't know. It's ginormous. It's the biggest building in America. Not in America. I don't know.
In the city.
In the city.
At least.
It's huge. It's ridiculously expensive. Very
and that's where,
stupid.
All those stupid rich people live. Yeah. Not saying they're stupid, but
no,
just
but
really ridiculously
overly stupidly rich.
Right.
It's great. It is the most noticeable building, no matter where you are. It is right there. You still know that you're in the city, but there is something kind of cool about having a park in the middle of a city. It feels almost dystopian. Because, you see that in movies sometimes, oh, that's a fucked up future.
Right.
But, look at where we are now. We have hoverboards. They're not really hoverboards.
You said that's called a one-wheel, right?
Yeah, it's called a one-wheel.
And that one is the...
it's the Pint X.
The Pint X, which I'm not even going to try it because I'm pretty sure
on
I'd wipe
grass,
out.
Oh my God. I mean, this grass is at least really smooth, but I have a little patch of grass in front of my home, and it's so terrible. It's so blocky, and I always fall off of it. It's so funny. Here I've managed to go over successfully a few times. It's pretty fun.
And how fast did you say you could go on that thing?
Max is 24 miles an hour.
That's pretty good, though.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I mean, you have to be kind of careful, though, because I'm sure you can get hit by a car.
Yes.
You probably need to wear a helmet some of the time, right?
Don't get hit by a car. Yes, wear a helmet. Even though I don't wear a helmet, I didn't wear a helmet today. But that's because I'm so close. And I also, like, when it comes to, like, Savannah itself is a dangerous city sometimes when it comes to its drivers.
Right.
They're really, really stingy. And we have some dedicated bike lanes, but it's really tough sometimes when roads are extremely thin and drivers do not care if you're on the road. And especially, like, you know, something like this where you're not sitting and you don't have a total grip over the bike.
Right.
And I'm basically standing on this and praying I don't get too much of a bump, so I fly off. But some bumps will completely uncalibrate it, and then I'll woo, and then I'll fall.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, I did right over there. Literally, I all of a sudden fell, and just no concussions or no anything.
I mean,
yet. I'm recovering from a couple little bruises, I guess.
But it's an easy way. Like if you're, you know, going to school or something, you got to go from building to building or something.
Yeah, that's what I really got it for.
Yeah.
I'm not close to like any of my buildings right now, but at least when, like, I have two cinema classes basically, and they're right next to each other, and so I'll park my car in a further parking lot and I'll just one wheel there, and so if I want to go get food, I'll just quickly go to a cafe or something, go eat, and then go back to my class, because I have only like a 30-minute break in between my classes, and then I usually just go home.
So one of the things that we kind of hit on the first time, like, we kind of met, is the I guess the difference in age and talking about generations and stuff. You said you're 20, right?
Yes.
So I'm 43, so that's a whole generation different. And I think I kind of mentioned, like, I think we need to do a better job about trying to connect generations, you know, an older generation and a younger generation, especially with, like, technology and things changing. What do you think? Like, how do you think, or what, is there a certain subject or is there a certain area in your mind that we would have to work at? Or, you know, to try to bridge that gap. There's the gap between different generations.
Well, I think that's an interesting question. Well, it's a question. But I think one of the things that not a lot of people realize is that, or at least in my perspective, because again, I'm 20 years old, so I don't have the perspective of a fucking god. But I like to observe things. I don't, I'm not like a usual 20-year-old, or what at least I think 20-year-olds are in these days. I don't go to parties much. I really am on my computer. I do a lot of tech stuff. I am a nerd, as most people would describe it, I guess. But I grew up with films, and I think one of the things I love about film is that it's just like a slice of life, and it's like you're just someone observing someone else's story, and you can't do anything about it. You're just watching it unfold. And I love kind of putting myself in a situation where I almost feel like a camera, and I like,
right,
because like, and when I'm in New York, one thing I always love to do, and this sounds a little creepy, but it's not, like, I will sometimes, like, I'll be sitting at a pizza shop, and I will overhear a conversation that's happening, and I start to listen in, and then I just start making up stories about who this person is, what their life could be, because isn't it so fascinating that we all live on the same little glob of earth and chunk of rock and stuff, and I don't know, we all are basically the same, but we live completely different lives from one another.
You're
like, we all
right.
live in the same place, like, especially in New York. And I will stand by it that the best thing about New York is the people, because no matter how weird or wacky or dangerous they may be, there is no community like the community in New York. It's unbelievable. And you can follow anyone and just get such an interesting perspective on, like, it's an out-of-body experience, truly. And I love it because it gives me just opportunities to not be myself for once.
So is it the diversity of the people? Because there's people from all over the world that are there with many
it could
different
be the
ideas.
diversity, but it doesn't. I think diversity is out the question because no matter who you are, there's so many things that are unique about anyone. That like
True. So you're saying that two people could be from the same exact place. They both grew up like
two people could grow up in the same house and become two completely different people.
Right.
That's like
yes.
it's. There's so many things that can happen on the way we grow up. Even
Yep.
if two twin brothers,
Right.
they become out completely different people. They may have similar traits, and everyone will have similar traits in life. But I don't know. There's what I'm trying to get to is that there's always going to be inconclusiveness, and there's always going to be a divide between people. And I think there's certainly going to be a divide between younger people and older people. Like when I turn your age,
Right.
and people are going to be my age, the kids of today are going to be my age. I'm going to be like, these motherfuckers are little pieces of shit because they don't understand what I had to work for to get what I needed, even though you could say the same thing to me because I grew up in a world that is so much easier. And I hate that, but also I love it at the same time because the internet is one of the best things ever. It's also one of the worst things ever.
Right. But I think, like I've heard somebody mention it once, it's almost amplifying. So like social media doesn't change anybody. It just amplifies who they are. So if they're an asshole, they're going to become a bigger one on social media.
Yeah, because there's no face-to-face connection. I think that's one of the worst, like, stuff like Twitter and stuff. I hate Twitter. I don't do Twitter. I don't do Instagram. The only real social media I use is Snapchat because it's simple enough and I use it as a messaging app and I just take photos. Instagram's, every person I talk to that is on Instagram, that is in my age group, their Instagram is a portfolio. It is a portfolio of like personally good-looking pictures, which I totally get. But it is put on this like crazy high level of class. Like when you post on Instagram or when you comment on Instagram, like it's serious. And that's like I've been seeing this new app, Be Real.
Yes.
Which is interesting, and I get it, but like
So what's the thing that's different about Be Real?
I don't know fully, but what I do know is that once a day, you take a photo of wherever you are in your day, and you have to take a photo, and you have a time limit of when you can take that photo. And what it does is it takes a selfie, and then a few seconds, or it takes a photo from your back camera, and then a few seconds later, it'll take a selfie camera to show where you are in life, to be real, to be like human.
And it's only one time a day?
Yeah, once a day.
So you know what?
And so you can see where people were at certain times of where their B-roll was, which I think is cool, but it's like, it's still, what is that supposed to help? It's still posting stuff online. There's no like messaging, I don't think.
Right.
But
so I don't know when that came out, but that's really interesting because you know Gary Vee, right?
Yes.
Okay, so one of the things that I remember him mentioning probably, it might have been a couple years ago, is he said he would like to start a social media where you only post once a day. So it's basically you're going to say something good that day. Or that one post, you're going to make it worth your while.
Yeah.
But I think what they're probably trying to do is like, okay, if you're taking a selfie of yourself, right, that it's going to show the other side.
Yeah. That's kind of what it's
supposed to be. Like, Be Real, right?
Yeah.
So
you see it in their world for a second. Because it basically eliminates the phone aspect.
Right. You can filter it, make it like, okay, this shot is just perfect for me.
Yeah,
but you're going to see the other side too.
I think they have filters and stuff.
I'm sure.
So that's really stupid.
But you know what?
Maybe.
I've tried to get
don't
away.
Take me literal.
I've tried to get away from that, like on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll just be like, hey, if my hair's messed up, it's messed up. You know.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know I'm a guy, so it's different than a guy for like.
So many people put way too much time into it, and I'm like, just upload. It's just to like communicate with people. Why do you have to put on a persona?
I think what it is people don't care whether they're really successful or they look it.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people just need validation from somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like kind of like what you're saying, like you're like, yeah, when I'm your age, I'm gonna be like, hey, look at those asshole kids. They don't know.
Exactly.
Because I think.
But then that's the reason why people look for validation, because no one gives them any credit. That's like,
yeah,
it's two-sided.
And I'm trying to like impart that on my kids who's still young right now. And I just had a conversation to say, hey, don't look to other people to validate you.
Yeah.
You are who you are.
Validate yourself. The only person it matters to. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, please go.
But this is something I tell my girlfriend a lot because she has, sometimes she doesn't think she looks good and she tries to make herself look good, and I'm like, the only person you need validation for, and in the end, the only person whose opinion is going to matter of you is yourself, because the only person who's going to be there in the end is yourself.
Right.
It is only you, and that's not a sense of like you're going to be lonely all the time. No, it doesn't matter. Like, who cares if, like, the people you should be friends with are the people who actually care about you. That's what friends are for.
Right.
It's as simple as that. If you don't feel that way, why are you with them?
Yep.
And there's also plenty you can enjoy with being alone. But I spent a lot of my time at home because I grew up with three older sisters, but they were all out of the house, so I was just by myself. And I kind of learned to understand what alone time was and how I can use it to enjoy myself and kind of get away from people, because people suck. People suck. Multiple people suck. People are great, but people suck. There's like, I don't know. I have a lot of problems with my generation. That
Do you think you're
are
ahead
also
of
problems with me. No.
Do you think you're ahead of your generation?
Me personally? God no. I am right there with them. I am easily one of those people. Like, I will gladly shame our generation because because I am a part of that generation. I am people that do these things. Like, and if anyone says like, you're not allowed to say those things, I was like, yes I can, because I do these things as well. I'm a part of your age group. But like, we are so self-centered sometimes. And I can say this for myself. I sometimes am very self-centered when it comes to getting into arguments with people. It is very, everyone is very quick to defend themselves and not just listen and say, okay, I'm sorry. Even if they don't, even if they, like, it doesn't make sense to them and they don't want to get away from it, they have to, like, make it about them and say, like, no, it wasn't. They always have to come up with an excuse.
They're going to find a reason that they're right.
Yes, and I do the same thing sometimes when I'm in a tough spot. And I totally get it, but there are times when where people know they're being assholes. And they do it because they are trying to get validation from everyone else and get their side. Because it's all especially when you're in a panic and stuff, and there are people around. It's
and I
very
think part of it is the ego. Because at the young age, you haven't had maybe your ego beat up enough, or realize that it kind of doesn't matter. Because like you said, like, you don't need to be validated by other people, but you're trying to protect yourself. And like you said, so in the beginning, like, even if they're wrong, they're going to try to figure out some way to say, like, they're right.
Yeah, there's always going to be, like...
Especially if there's other people listening and watching. Because you don't want to be that person that's like...
Yeah, and who's not going to mess up and be, like, embarrassed. It sucks to be embarrassed. You are you feel like you're constantly being looked at, and it's very nerve-wracking, especially for people that don't go outside much. Not saying, like, I get, like, feared of too many people.
Right.
But it's nerve-wracking. Having everyone stare at you for reasons you don't want them to be staring at you for. That's what sucks.
Do you think social media makes that harder?
Yes, 100%.
Because I can only imagine. I mean, I was bullied. I had people that said they were waiting for me after school, and I would have to avoid them.
See, I bet that still happens in actual school.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know. I'm very curious to see the type of bullying that goes down in, like, middle school today.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't bullied much. I don't know. I'm trying to think to myself. I think I was like, I certainly got shit on by my friends a few times.
Yeah.
Like, just with goofs. I remember one time they poured milk over my head in, like, the middle of the classroom, and I was like, what the fuck? And then that was the day I was like, yeah, I want to go to a different school.
So, but imagine, because, like, what I'm saying is, like, so there was a certain point where it kind of changed for me. I started doing, like, the martial arts and stuff, and people, like, knew it, and then, like, I was not afraid to defend myself. But I can only imagine, like, when I was in elementary, or really, like, middle school, maybe high school, to where if there was social media back then,
It'd be so
if
different.
something like that happened and somebody recorded it, now they can send it to thousands, if not millions of people, and everybody can see it. Somebody that wasn't in a class could later on go, oh, look at Davis, he had milk poured on his head. And I think that amplifies it and makes it so much worse.
It can, like with TikTok and stuff, because you definitely see people getting shit on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
And while it is hilarious, I think a joke can be made out of most things, pretty much anything, even if it does suck for the individual.
Right.
You know, comedy comes in many different forms.
Yes, it does.
It's fascinating, but there's also, I think there's now a sense of virality to these kids. Like, there's a sense of, like, holy shit, I went viral.
Right.
Like, and what is, like, viral in its definition is just like a bunch of people are watching your stuff.
Right.
And it's very concurrent and people are talking about it. It's like,
yep.
Viral, it just pops off very quickly.
But I think quickly. It moves, it's also that it moved very fast, right?
Yeah, it
because
does move
like,
fast, and TikTok moves very quickly.
Because if you're the news, right? I mean, if it's viewed by 10 million people in one sitting, it's not viral.
No.
Because, I mean, it's expected that there's that many people watching the news.
But TikTok, it can go out of, because so many people, oh God, how many videos
yeah,
are
like
posted
right
today?
now, we could record something.
Yeah, about...
And if it was something that everybody wanted to see, and within minutes, it could go to millions of people.
Yeah, I think they're about like, well, I'm going to look this up super quickly, but I think it's about, how many TikToks are posted in a day? Because I swear...
How many TikToks are posted in a day?
Yeah, it's an insane
It's probably like
amount.
over 1 billion. It's got to be a lot.
It is a lot. It has over 1 billion monthly users active. Jesus. It's unbelievable.
That's 1/7 of the
world.
If there's like 7
Yeah,
or 8 million.
Whopping. The average TikTok user spends a whopping 95 minutes per day on the platform.
See, that's gone up because I looked at it one time and said 33. So that's even crazier.
Because it's bite-sized content.
Oh yeah.
It's so easy, and
yes.
I love bite-sized content.
You go down that hole, right? And you get lost, and you're like, wait.
Dude, I'll sometimes go on YouTube Shorts, and I'll just fall asleep sometimes because it just bores me. Or like, and YouTube Shorts, I've been with YouTube Shorts since its beginning, and I still think it has a lot of work to do. At first, it was one of the stupidest things YouTube has done. I was like, clearly they're just marketing off of TikTok. It's really obvious, and the content was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But I think their algorithm for what kind of videos you get has improved a lot. And it is so fascinating, the types of videos you get from these creators with, like, no subscribers, no likes or dislikes. It's so interesting. Because it's like, they're usually just like little kids, and it's like just this like screaming video of like a kid. It's hilarious because you find this content out of nowhere, and you're like, why is this here? Why has this been recommended to me? And I love that. There's that sense of randomness to it, and it's like a little surprise. You never know what you're gonna get on TikTok. It's really, and there's so much stuff. You can, seriously, it's very entertaining. I don't recommend it to people sometimes because of how good it is at its job.
Yeah.
It is,
to keep your attention.
I consider it the successor to Vine, if you remember Vine.
I've never dealt with Vine.
So Vine was a social media platform that was in the early days of the iPhones and technology itself and social media, and it was a app where you posted videos, but you only had 6 seconds. You could post as much as you wanted, but you could only post 6-second videos, and the content was insane. It was bite-sized content. It was super enjoyable. You could just keep scrolling, and there was so much stuff, and so many creators were built off of that, and high social media stars that actually all migrated to YouTube when Vine was shut down.
Right.
And like those are people like Logan Paul. And
why did it shut down?
Because it didn't have a lot of users. Instagram also
okay.
took the idea. Oh god, Instagram took the idea and made it their own thing. Which no company, every company can do. They could just steal shit from other companies, but
yep.
it
Because there's
drew
no
them down to
copyright
business.
on it, right?
They
It's a
didn't-
concept.
It's a concept though. It's
So
a
you
mere,
can't like trademark it or anything.
Yeah, you can't trademark
an idea.
It's stupid. But I think TikTok is the successor to that, because even though you can make long videos, it's not even made by the same people, but it has the same energy and love from it. Like because I think what made Vine great was that there are so many different parts to what makes a good TikTok. The video, the caption, and the comments. The comments that people would make, that's sometimes the best part of a TikTok, is the top comment.
Yeah.
You can't deny that. Like, there's sometimes really funny moments, and you're like, you watch a video and you're like, why is this so popular? And then you're like, oh, it's probably the first comment. Or you like sigh and look at the comments because you know what it's going to be based on the video or something like that. And it's so fun. That's the great thing about TikTok, is that it is bite-sized content to perfection. And now you can do 10-minute videos on it if you want. So, but you can skim through it. So
I just had this thought. So I always think that everything is cyclical. Everything, right? So in the beginning, we had, when cell phones first came out, they were big. Then they started to shrink in size and everybody wanted a small phone.
Yeah.
Then they got big again.
Yep.
Same thing happened with TVs. I just saw the guy that going by. I've just been seeing a lot of these electric bikes.
Yep.
Right? So in the beginning, it was just a bicycle. And then they actually had, like back in the day, they had like little motors they could put on the bike. Or motorcycles, Harley Davidson. It was almost like a bicycle when it started. And then we kind of went back to like, hey, we're just bicycling. Now, these electric bikes, you can, I guess, pedal it, or you can just turn on the electric part and just take off and go. Mm-hmm. I think the same thing is true about what you were just talking about. Back in the day, we had bite size. I don't know if you know what a Nickelodeon is. Not the channel, but the thing you would look into back in the day, right? And it would be a short. It would be Charlie Chaplin, no sound, really quick. Yeah. And then it went to longer films, and now we're back to short.
Yeah, there is like, I don't know, that you are totally right.
And some of the stuff is like, it's not even audio, like a person talking. It's you're seeing something happen and you add audio to the back.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the reasons why these things like we always thought we couldn't do are now coming up is because we're now thinking like, hey, we're in this time, like we've progressed so much in science. The amount of progress we've made in terms of science in the past 10 years has been so much more than we could have ever done in our 50 years.
Oh yeah.
It's unbelievable. Every day we are learning more than we possibly could. And it's great, but there's also the sense of, oh my God, I'm so off track right now. I'm thinking of so many different things right now. What was your original question? I'm so sorry.
I was talking about how it's all cyclical and how it's kind of, it's changing. It's like this, then it changes and it's back.
There's so many opportunities for us to do things we've never thought were possible.
Right.
Like you see a lot of concept cars and concept designs and stuff that never come to market. Like there was a phone a few years ago by Xiaomi, which is a Chinese phone company. Mm-hmm. They had a concept phone that never came to market, but it was basically a phone that had a full screen, the bezel where the cameras were, there was no bezel, the display wrapped around the entire phone, and the camera was in a line of components that was just up here. This whole back was screen, this little thing, the sides were, all of it was screen. And it was cool, but it was very impractical.
Right.
Because, like, it wastes battery like crazy. You have no physical buttons, so it's, like, touch sensitive.
Oh,
and that's weird when you're holding it. It's a plastic display. It's weird. But I think it's the what ifs.
Yeah.
That we constantly keep pushing and testing. And especially today, we're constantly pushing the what ifs of...
It's like the innovative part, right?
Yeah,
like, what if we could
everything.
do this?
It doesn't
what if
even,
we could do that?
Yeah, it's not even the innovation, but I think it's the... Like, you can really think about, there's a person, anything you could think about, there's a person that probably likes it. Like, you could, and I don't mean that as, like, think of an object. I think of anything. Like, think of a single thing. Think of grass. I bet you can find someone that loves grass.
Oh, yeah.
Like is obsessed with grass. Probably has a job in grass study.
That works at, like, a golf course.
Yeah, that's a job.
Pretty grass.
Like, there are so many jobs that people don't realize exist. And I'm not saying that in a way of, like, see, there's so many jobs. Like, why are people not getting jobs? I understand why there's a unemployment rate. But it's just fascinating. There's so many different jobs. And it's crazy what you could do. A lot of it's boring, but there's what isn't boring sometimes to one person, to another. To someone else, it might be amazing. Who cares?
Right.
If it's not for you, it's not for you. Don't push it that it's not for you into
and you
someone
know what?
else's
And that's
space.
kind of like what you were talking about earlier. Like, there could be two, say, twin brothers, two people that were raised in the same household, and one is really interested, say, maybe in music, and the other one is not interested in at all.
Yep.
But I think what's great is when you get those people together, you can actually learn something from somebody, even if you're not interested in that subject. It can kind of like have like inspiration. Like you were talking, like if you're watching, and as a film student, if you're in New York and you're watching somebody, and then you're creating a story around who they are, that could create inspiration for you to say, hey, I just got this greatest idea for a film.
There's so, like, look, a lot of people will say this because I go to SCAD and everyone is an artsy-fartsy student. The teachers are always like, look around. Like, there's so much creativity, and you guys refuse to actually open up your minds, which I totally get because we're in school, and it's sometimes very hard to be creative when you're on a deadline.
Right.
And, like, in a career, you'll have a deadline, and you'll have time dates and stuff that you need to get in on time. But we run a 10-week quarter system here at SCAD. So we have 3 classes a quarter. That's it.
Okay.
We have them twice a week. We have 4-day weeks. It's a very different schedule than most schools. But the workload pays it off because you have a lot of work. Like, we have seriously big projects. Like, I have so I'm in my editing 101 class right now because I haven't done any editing classes, even though I'm a junior, which feels weird. But I just started an editing class, like a beginner editing class, and we're learning Avid Media, which is probably the most, besides Premiere, is probably the most used in the film industry. It's used more than Premiere, but like I use Premiere, and Avid is a nightmare. It's one of the, for film editors, it's the most unuser-friendly software I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it just very technical? Like
it is very technical. It's complicated for, I feel like, there's probably a reason for why everything is the way it is, but it is extremely frustrating when simple stuff is locked behind 5 different commands. Like, not fun. But it's still good. I'm probably going to be using Premiere, even though I'm not an editor. I still am most likely going to be using Premiere for my projects. It's good to know Avid. There's no situation where you can't learn something new from anything, and just get a perspective. You don't have to change. Just because you're listening to someone doesn't mean you're changing your opinion or giving them your hearing, and now you're on their side or something like that.
Right.
It's just having a conversation,
Yep.
listening, like whatever happened to just having a conversation between 2 different people.
Right, like you and I are sitting here having a conversation.
Yeah,
and
like,
I'm not trying to convince you of anything.
Yeah.
But we're just sharing ideas.
Yeah. I see that more on TikTok now, like just people asking strangers random questions, and I like it. I like the humanity of it. There's like, I've been seeing these videos of people going around college campuses asking people like truth or dare. And
Oh, yeah.
they'll be like, truth, and they'll be like, when was the last time you cried? And they'll be honest, and they'll be like, because there's a sense of humanity. And like, you know, I don't know, I don't remember the last time I cried. It's probably last week. But like, I don't know, I was stressed about assignments because school is stressful. But it's, you know, I'm sure as an adult I'm probably gonna cry. Like, crying is a part of human life. And
Right, but I think sometimes, I don't want to say it's just social media, but I think it's just
social media has a part in.
I think for men to cry
Yeah, historically,
there's
it's certainly
kind of like,
been
I don't want to say a stigma, but it's kind of like you're
No.
not supposed to.
But I think people
You know?
know now that. I think people in my generation understand that men cry.
Right.
I don't. You know, I do hear a lot of people saying like, "Oh, men aren't allowed to cry." I've never met a single person who hasn't cried, or like who has actually said to me, "Men don't cry."
Right.
Although I will admit, I've never seen my own father cry. And
Different
that's-
generation.
Totally different generation.
Right.
I do want to try and make him cry, though. I have always wanted to. Even when our dog died, he didn't cry. I was like, "What's wrong with you?" And he was like, "I've been expecting this for a while." And I was like, "Fuck you."
I think it's that men feel like they don't want to look like they're weak.
I guess, but like, who doesn't have a vulnerable side?
Yeah.
Like, that's just kind of obvious. Who doesn't have a vulnerable side? You can, if you want to look masculine and tough, go for it. Go bodybuild. Go be a motivational speaker. Go tell people how tough you are, and then hide it away from the world. If that's what you want to do, go for it.
But
no one's going to stop you from
really
doing that, but the consequences, I don't know, I'm staring at a camera, but hopefully you're looking at this camera, or this camera, or this camera. But I'm dead serious. If you feel like you need to mask yourself behind posting photos and putting on a fake personality and then just being yourself at home, that's fine. No one's going to shame you for that. But the only person who will shame you for that is yourself. The only person who deserves to shame you for that is yourself. Don't let anyone tell you what to do except yourself. You can change whenever you want, but it is the only person it's going to affect is you. So please just remember that.
Yeah, and
because that's something I realize way too much.
A lot of times I hate when people say it's so cliche because it's said so much. But you know what? I think for some of the younger generation, they're waiting for like a hack, a shortcut.
Yeah, I could say the same thing. I'm definitely looking. I could say I'm looking for a shortcut because isn't there something kind of nice about the easy way, not having to put in and the shortcuts and the easy way can be defined in like, cheating life and not doing work at all, or finding a literal shortcut and actually like having a little tip or help in your life.
Yep.
Like there's nothing wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with shortcuts, but there are different types of shortcuts.
Right.
If you're like backstabbing someone.
Right.
If it's not for a good reason, then it's probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
But there's like people rely on help and contacts and different people to help them in life. Who hasn't asked for help?
Oh, absolutely.
If you don't ask for help, like that's you could consider help a shortcut. Would you be considered cheating if you ask for help? No, it's help.
Yep, and that I think
guidance.
That makes me think about people. I hear so many people say, like, I'm a self-made millionaire. There's no self-made millionaires, right?
No.
I mean, maybe you put in the hard work, and maybe you
did it by maybe you can like sure you. I feel like most people that say that like invest their money wisely, and I'm like sure.
But somebody had to teach you that.
Yeah, someone had to teach you
right?
that.
I mean,
like,
you had a teacher, whether it be your parents.
Exactly.
If you read something, somebody had to create that book for you to learn that. So it's not like you're really not self-made. I mean, it's not taking away from their hard work that they had to do, but at the same time, I think it's just they want to be kind of boastful. It's the ego. They want to be like, look what I did this all by myself. And it's like, well, I mean, yes and no.
Yeah. Although I had a friend once talk to me about why, because I was asking like, why do you put so much of an effort on for your TikTok? Because they like to make more, how do I say this? More like lucrative and provocative type TikToks. And I'm like, why do you put on this personality for it? You have a boyfriend, don't you? And she was like, well, it's interesting having she doesn't do it to like cheat or get like thirst traps from boys or anything, but she does it because it's a sense of life she like feel like she like wanted to do, she like wanted to have, she like wanted to be like that bad diva and like someone that was like nasty and almost stereotypically nasty and villainous. And she was like, it just gives me a way to do that and kind of just have fun with it. And I was like, I totally get that. But it's hard to tell because, we're on the other side of a screen and we don't understand the motive sometimes, but there are way too many people that just post provocative stuff on TikTok. It's absurd.
I think it's kind of like before Howard Stern was big on radio. he was a trailblazer when it came to the shock jock, right?
Yeah.
And then people wanted to follow in his footsteps. But it's kind of like, but that's just who he was. That's what he wanted to be. And not everybody's going to be that, you know? I mean, you could also do that through performance. I mean, if you were an actress or an actor and you just wanted to kind of live that, like, other life, like the method actors that will actually, like, go into character and be there. Like, Heath Ledger will be the Joker the whole day. He will talk like it no matter what.
There's a lot of dedication.
Right?
Yeah, it takes a lot. And that man certainly paid the price.
Yeah, yeah.
But... yeah, I don't know. There's something totally fun about that. And I do like that because I totally get why actors love acting. And, like, I'm taking an acting class, and it's interesting seeing people that, like, want to make a career out of this. And while I'm just here, like, wanting to just be a part of a film, no matter where I am, if I'm a shitty PA getting coffee for people, or you see me setting up C-stands for some flags to put on top of lights, like, I'm fine doing whatever.
So
I just love it.
What is it about film that intrigues you, or just what draws you to it? Because if
Just
you're willing
the process.
the process?
Yeah, because I think there's something so crazy about a cultivation of hundreds of people creating a singular vision. Most of the time, there's a lot of trash movies out there that, and you know, but isn't it kind of interesting that this one sequence that has been edited and worked on by hundreds of people, every single aspect has so many layers to it that worked on by multiple people.
Oh yeah.
All to make this one coherent timeline of film.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting. I just want to be a part of it. I'm not looking to be a famous director or anything. I just want to make a stable living, have a decent amount of money, hopefully have a family, and just enjoy and just make films.
And be part of the process.
Just be part of the process. I hope, I mean, I know that I'm not going to be making good movies, or if I'm a part of anything,
and so
unless I'm like a creative head, I'm probably going to be in some not great stuff. Do you know how many movies get made a year that no one knows? Do you know how much garbage television there is on cable that no one watches?
Right.
No one, like, barely anyone watches cable, I feel like, anymore. People watch sports.
You're part of the process. So to you, it doesn't matter that other people know that you worked on it, but you can see the end product and say, I had a hand in that. And you're self-validating. You're validating yourself, right? Yeah. You're not saying, I need all these people to see.
No.
Like, you don't need to be an actor. I mean, I know that I set this up and I did this.
Yeah, I just like making films.
And I know this.
I do it because I enjoy it. Like, I've made a promise with myself that I don't want to do a job unless I enjoy doing it. If it's tedious labor or tedious work, I'm not doing it. Unless I can make it fun.
Right.
I want to enjoy my career. I want to give myself a reason to get up and go to work every day. And I enjoy making films and being a part of that process. That's what gets me up. And even if it's torturous sometimes, getting up at 2 a.m. to go set up a set.
I could,
Actors at 4 in the morning.
Some people might not understand that it could be an all-day process just for 30 seconds of a scene.
It is. There's actually a couple films that are coming down into Savannah. There's one starring Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore.
I saw that.
It's coming in a few days.
Yeah, they were looking for extras.
They are. They're looking for a bunch of extras, and it's a very long process. There's so much that goes into it. Seriously, just if you genuinely find and they're setting up some stuff over here, and I don't know what it's for, but I have an idea. But I don't know. Is it like I don't know. Looks fun though.
I don't know, but I remember when the Lady and the Tramp was being filmed here, and I don't remember what park, but the whole
remake.
The real life one.
Yeah, the live action one they just made.
Yep. And so I remember I saw part of it on River Street, and then the other part, I don't remember what square it was here, but the whole square was covered in snow. And we just happened to be driving by, and I stopped, and I was like, look, it's snowing. And it's like in the middle of the damn summer.
Yeah.
I was like, so I got out, and I went over there. I was like, what are you guys filming? And they're like, oh, it's called Goodbye Stranger. That was the working title. Yeah. And then I later found out it was Lady and the Tramp. I was like, oh, that's what they were working on.
Yeah, they were... over the summer, I don't know what they were working on, but they turned one of the squares into like this old town with like horses and mud roads and stuff. It was so interesting. They covered the entire road with mud. It was bonkers and dirt. But there was, a few weeks ago, they were filming right outside my street. They were filming Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
They're code name was like Sea Turtle.
Yeah, I actually met one of the, I don't know what he was. I mean, for some of the production, I actually had, doing ride sharing, I had one of the guys that was working on the film.
Really?
Yeah. He said, yeah, we're here, shooting for, I think it was Night of the Walking Dead, right? Or Fear the Walking Dead.
Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah, yep, that's right. Which, is that the sequel to?
It's a spin-off show, but
Okay.
It's basically just a continuation so AMC can make more money.
Of course.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like The Walking Dead as a show. I think the first season was good because it had people behind it that were really talented. I don't know about its later seasons, although I don't like season 2. I thought season 2 was a tremendous dumpster fire of television. And there's a lot I could go into about how everyone behind it was fucked over.
Oh, wow.
Because the first season was 6 episodes. It was very successful. AMC made a ton of money off of it, and they said, cool, we're going to ask for double the amount of episodes, and we're going to lower your budget for each episode. And then we're going to fire you.
So it's not about the art. It's
No,
about
it's
the
not.
profit,
They
then.
don't. They really care about making money. And I don't know about them present day.
Right.
Because they've made some good stuff. But I feel like that's because the people behind it are the creators and people who own it. But, I understand that chief financial officers and CEOs need to make their money.
Right.
They run a company.
Yeah.
Their job is to make that company money. I understand that. But I think they need a better perspective of the type of businesses they run sometimes and actually figure out what they're working for and who their main audience is. Because you have investment meetings and calls, and a lot of video game publishers and companies will have investment meetings and stuff, and I'm like, why are you talking to them? I know they give you money, but who? I thought that was someone I knew. But like, who are the people that are actually buying this game, that are playing it?
Right.
Who are the people that are making the game, developing it?
Yeah.
And it's a very complicated thing because the gaming community is very toxic, and so we don't know where to put our blame at for when we're angry. And so we'll just go right to the developers who had nothing to do with it and just tried to make a game. And most of the time, it's the higher-ups who fuck with it somehow. Like,
See, I would think it'd be beneficial if a CFO was a developer at one time.
that would
They
be
came
amazing,
from the
but no.
trenches, right? So they understand, like they have the passion for that. So like you said, yes, they need to turn a profit,
You don't see it.
but
Especially with big companies that are worth, because you need,
Oh, yeah.
especially for people with companies that are worth billions of dollars,
Right.
you need someone that understands how to run a company that big. And unfortunately, most of the time, they're not going to be from whatever company you're trying to run.
right.
It's just the way it is. But I don't know. There's always going to be that in the world. There's always going to be people that are working for places they shouldn't, working in places that are not at all what they're into.
Right.
But hey, good things can come out of it, bad things can come out of it. You never know.
Yeah. What's your favorite film?
This
Do you
is
have
something
a favorite movie?
I do. Well, I was at a party last night, and I was actually talking to people about this. As a kid, I always said my favorite film was WALL-E, and I don't particularly like Disney now as a company, but I do think WALL-E is a really, really great film for kids and adults. I think it's just super sweet, super simplistic, really just well done and polished. But I'd say of recent memory, my probably favorite film is Marriage Story.
Marriage Story.
Marriage Story. It's a film on Netflix. It stars Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson. It's a very depressing movie about a couple that wants to divorce and they have a kid. It's sad, especially for someone like you, I'm sure. It's
Really?
depressing, but it's a pretty excellent movie. It's probably one of the most realized and real feeling movies I've seen in a very long time. It's really freaking good. I watch it as a comfort movie now, and it's super sad and depressing.
Is there a?
But it is so hopeful, and it's pretty beautiful.
Is there a real life story? Like it's
it's not based off of real life events, but it certainly has probably happened to people.
right.
It's
so
just
I'm saying
about
so
the
it's not
struggle.
like
It's the struggle between two people who want a divorce and they have a kid, and I can't really go into it much, but
because you don't want to give it away.
I don't want to give it
Spoiler
away.
alert.
But it's a really beautiful It's a really beautiful movie. And I think for someone like you who's married and has kids, I think it's very insightful. I think you might really find some insightful things about it.
I'll have to check that out.
But yeah, it's on Netflix. It's a pretty great movie. But I'd say probably my favorite movie has been Fantastic Mr. Fox from Wes Anderson. It's an animated movie. That's a great movie you should watch with your kids.
And what is it the storyline?
So it's based off of the Roald Dahl book. It's about a fox that kind of has a habit with stealing. And he raises a family, but he gets back into it, and he erupts 3 big people from like 3 big major people that live up top, and it's a great movie. That's a movie you should watch with your kids.
Look at me, take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. Look at me, take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. If you want the truth, don't close your eyes. We got our back against the wall, we gotta fight back. I need a theme song, this the right track. I ain't got no cape or no superpowers.